I made a video about IGN and their, you know, garbage review of Dragon Age Failguard, right? Now, I'll do a video on the truth about Dragon Age Veilguard reviews. I'm pretty sure it'll talk about, how every single fucking review had to say a specific line. And it's, oh, this is BioWare's return to form, right? And they have to completely disregard any of the consumer output, any of the consumers, actual criticism, right? Because again, this is a game that's not really a game. It's trying to fool you. It's trying to pull the wool over your eyes. It looks good, but it's again the idea of toxic positivity where you can't shut down bad game decisions, bad game designs within entertainment companies, or you get fired, right? Like they go out of their way to fire people that are just like, this is dumb, right? It doesn't matter if you're the best coder, doesn't matter if you're the best, artist. Like again, meritocracy with the ideological individuals, like they hate merit, they hate the fact of earning the job. They view a job more like a reward. It's like, congratulations, you're in this position, but I mean, you kind of gotta do the job, do the thing that we're paying you to do, right? But they don't think that far. They're just like, oh, hey, I covet this position. Now I have it. And I don't need to do anything to prove this so that I deserve this position and prove why I'm in this company, right? And again, with this mindset, you get games like these, right? Which are effectively someone's daddy issues wrapped inside a product to impose on the consumer, right? Like this is what you get when you have that ideology, that idea, that way of doing business, right? And this might go into that about all that, but I do my synopsis just reading off the name of the video. Let's get into it.
In this Dragon Age The Veilguard review, we're going to be talking about why we're actually not doing a review for The Veilguard today, why this should matter to you, and why it's important. We don't normally make videos like this on the Fex for Life YouTube channel. We typically stay out of drama. You'd be hard-pressed to find more than a handful of these across the entire 3,000 some odd videos we've ever made. But what I want to talk about today is going to impact the way that you watch reviews today, the ones that are coming out today, and this information should not be kept from you. Before I get into that, though, just a little bit of background about Fex for Life's history with Dragon Age. Dragon Age Origins is one of my all-time favorite games. I get asked all the time, what are my top 5 games? And Dragon Age Origins is consistently in that list. That has never changed in the entire time since I've played that game. We also made a Dragon Age Inquisition wiki in 2014 when that game launched, so we've been covering Dragon Age for at least 10 years, maybe longer. And Fex also managed to rescue the Dragon Age forums when BioWare was bought by EA because they were shutting down those forums. We got permission from BioWare to rescue those forums, export them, and import them onto the Fex for Life forums. So you can still find those Dragon Age forums today on our site.
Yeah, I mean, their entire site is information, people coming together to enjoy the medium and talk about the medium, discuss maybe ideas, story ideas, build ideas. I mean, this is, and guides. I mean, most games have these, right? But before the community managers rolled in and they have a particular ideology and they make anywhere the individuals with the woke ideology goes, like that place immediately just becomes a toxic environment, right? Because you have people, one, they're probably from a university with student loan debt, and how they're trained to interact with the world is to push out people that don't look like them, think like them, act like them, and to push in people that do look like them, think like them, act like them, until they, overthrow people. And these are just normal fucking people. Like, they're not organized. These are just consumers that enjoy the game, they enjoy the art, they enjoy the entertainment, right? But then you have the individual that, is actively fighting demons in their head. It's like a mask, right? That they hold in their hand. And the minute you say anything against their ideology, they slap that mask on you and they attack you. And you're like, oh, get the fuck away from me. I'm out of here. So they take the mask off you and they put the mask on somebody else and they attack them for, again, sometimes just expressing basic bitch normie opinions that your mother would have. But I guess they just don't, they're not acceptable today because the ideology demands it's not.
We've been in constant communication with EA and Bioware for years about this title. We've been assured we're getting a code multiple times over the years. We've been in constant communication with them. They keep sending us stuff about the game. We've also been covering the game during that time with constant news articles. We've done several videos about the game.
The creepy creatures from the catacombs have
forgot.
moved from the old courthouse to their new haunting.
But most importantly, I think that our audience is the audience for this title. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find another channel out there that's our size that is so specifically targeted to RPGs that fits the profile for this game. So following all this, we were invited by EA to attend a preview event for Dragon Age: The Veilguard in September with a lot of other press and content creators. We were by no means the only ones doing this. And after attending that event, we made our impressions video from playing the game, which has close to 300,000 views on our YouTube channel right now, which I think is one of the most viewed impressions videos for that game at this time. If you watch that video, the general sentiment is that we were cautiously optimistic about the game. We praised its gameplay, character depth, but we weren't completely sold about the storytelling in the long run, although we only got to play a very little bit of time, so we weren't entirely sure. And in general, we didn't really like the character models, the design style of them, which I think a lot of people don't. In general, it was a pretty positive impression of the video, and I want to play for you the closing audio from that video right now so you can see what we told our audience at the end of that video. I still have issues with the game, mainly that I don't like the UI and that the dialogues didn't seem to be on par with what you could get in other story-focused games that have come out in the last decade, and that I didn't yet get a point where I felt a bond or much interest with my companions who were integral to the story. It's funny that I have pretty much been playing these games for the story and getting through the combat, but I may actually be playing the Veilguard to enjoy the combat and get through the story to see the end. How everything works together and progresses into a full game remains to be seen, and there were several big and impactful events that I cannot discuss, but so far my opinion on this has become more positive, and I would like to urge anyone who loves CRPGs to hang in there and wait for reviews and not write the game off just yet. And just to illustrate how...
Yeah, and see, that's the problem, right? They want a situation where, okay, maybe you say maybe a couple of negatives, but overall you kind of like soft-hand it, right? What they want to do is grab their opinion pieces, their people that they send early access copies to, grab any, like, just the yes men of reviewers and give them copies of the game and have them review the game, right? And even if you have basic criticism, right, they don't want you, again, you hit the story, so yeah, the story's kind of boring, and again, I don't like the story or the combat or the way it looks, right? Again, it just looks cartoonish to me, right? And they take away like a third of the things that made Dragon Age, and half the things that make Dragon Age a good game. And I can see why they would have dropped you for that.
How mild that our criticisms were of the Veilguard. After publishing our impressions video, we got called shills. Some people accused us of being paid by BioWare and EA to promote the game, which of course we're obviously not.
Yeah, I mean, you always get those type of... If you take any position that's in the middle, right? You got the people, or even like middle, slightly to the left or right. You'll have people on the radical sides of both calling you this, calling you that, right? I mean, And though, okay, yeah, this one might be correct. Again, people don't understand how these things work, right? They don't have to pay you a damn thing. One is illegal. Two, it's just not something they have to do, right? They can give you a myriad of other bonuses that is a hell of a lot more incentivizing than just flat money. But again, people don't understand how the business to business in entertainment goes, and that's fine, right?
I was even contacted by another content creator who had attended the event that asked me why my criticisms were worded more cautiously and asked me if I was concerned when I made my video that I'd be denied access to a review code. To which, of course, I replied, no, I'm not worried about getting denied access to review code. That simply doesn't happen in the gaming industry. But I was not concerned about this at all. I reassured him that he shouldn't be concerned about this because it's just not really a thing in the gaming industry. It's so rare that it shouldn't scare someone into not saying what they think about a game. So after publishing our video, nearly immediately, our contacts at EA and Bioware stopped replying and communication went to zero. So we started inquiring as to what was happening and reaching out to other contacts in the industry in a bit wider of a circle to try and figure out what's happening. As a result, we discovered that we were essentially getting fake reassurances that we were getting a code to keep us happy while denying us access to the Failguard.
Yeah, again, you got blacklisted. Congratulations, right? They probably sent them to an automated service just to shut you up, and then they just put you on the blacklist of channels. Again, they wanted to utilize whatever shills they had to push this product that they knew and I believe the product's going to sell, right? And I mean, it has sold quite a bit, but it's not for a AAA game that costs hundreds of millions of dollars. It's not doing good. Like, okay, it's doing better than obviously Concord, but I mean, that's not even really a bar, right? But I mean, for a AAA multi-billion dollar company, a AAA multi-million dollar, hundreds of millions of dollar product, it's still bad. It's still to their credit, it's $60 instead of $70, right? But I wouldn't even pirate this game.
It wasn't too long after this that I began to be contacted by other press and content creators about whether or not we had a code, and generally speaking, I get this a lot. People tend to ask me whether I have a code or not, because we generally get codes for all the big games. I'm not trying to brag, it's just simply reality. We have a large channel. We almost always get a code, and another creator or press can figure out if they should have a code right now, if they're going to get one or not, by asking us this question, which is what happened here. And we started piecing together between us that some people had codes and others didn't, including ourselves. And you might have also seen Wolfheart's tweets about this topic on Twitter or X, and Luke Stevens' video about this topic as well. Both of those individuals were with us in California for the preview event, and both of them put out preview videos as well as ours. And I think between the three of us, we probably have some of the three most viewed videos on this topic, or at least most commented on, I would say. And if you read those tweets and you watch that video, you can tell clearly that they also feel some way that they were intentionally excluded by EA from review access for some unknown reason, likely because of critical comments they made in their preview video, even though most of the things they said were positive about the game, just like us. And these are just two individuals that are speaking out about this, but we do know that there are at least a handful of other content creators and press that were left out, maybe more, that share a similar sentiment, that feel like they were deliberately prevented from giving their own opinions to their own audience about this game.
Yeah, they were striking down people that showed, the clips with, the odd story and design aspects that they've added that adds nothing to the game, right? That's just clearly was hand-fisted in there because of, the ideological individuals who do not play games. They don't care for Dragon Age. They were hired off maybe some DEI initiative or the consultancy groups. And people were like, well, this is shit, right? And I'm not surprised my boy here didn't get one. But, yeah, so because of this, they are hand-picking specific shills to review the game over even YouTubers that are clearly like this dude has like what was that 67 point something thousand, right? 26,000 views. I mean, this is clearly the type of person you would want to talk about their content, because here's the thing, right? Most people have like what, one, two, maybe three, informative YouTubers that they frequent. Maybe like five or six in the pipeline just in case videos don't come out. Then maybe like, I don't know, 10, 20 just throwaway channels just to shut your brain off. So you would want people like this to have your codes, even if they end up shitting on it. I mean, maybe you'll have a couple of people. I mean, probably not if they shit on it, but at least give, basic bitch commentary. But no, that's not what they want, right? They want to utilize journalistic presses. They want to utilize, games journalism, the shills and effectively the advertisers for them, and not actual YouTubers that have an audience, right? Because this is it's odd, right? That you get more what's the word I'm looking for? Not really factual, but you get more bipartisan arguments from just basic bitch YouTubers than you do from the media, right? You know, and some people, even if they agree with what the media is saying, they don't like their intelligence being insulted, and be like, no, you must think of this way. If you don't, it's like, bitch, shut the fuck up, right? I want to see the unedited of these things. I want full on every type of criticism and like of the game, because again, $60 fucking dollars, $70 fucking dollars is a lot of money, especially for a game that's not for you. Apparently, again, you're not the targeted demographic of this game, right?
Just feeling like EA is deliberately trying to prevent us from telling you what we think about the game, and they want you to hear it from someone else. So you then...
I didn't read that. Please keep in mind, folks, that this does not mean that my more critical opinion is better than or more truthful than those that have been more positive. I'm just simply pointing out how marketing works. This also doesn't mean the game will be bad, but it is something to consider. Yeah, I mean, if I look at a review and I'm like, okay, maybe based on this I'll wait for it to go on sale, or I just won't buy the game. Like, right? That's fine. I mean, again, they're not selling an essential product, right? They're selling entertainment. Some people are going to be into it, some people are not, right?
We think about the game, and they want you to hear it from someone else. So you then have to ask yourself, why would EA do this? What is their angle? What are they trying to accomplish by doing this? After the previews came out, I think it became very apparent that most of the people who were still interested in Failguard after watching the previews were waiting for reviews to make their final decision about whether or not to purchase the game. If you just read comments in any YouTube video about the Failguard or look at the poll on our community page, you can see that the vast majority of people that are still interested are waiting for reviews. Looking at this, EA's marketing team probably saw this and decided that they needed to make the reviews as positive as possible, trying to exclude those that might, give the game a 7 or an 8, while also reaching out and finding press and content creators that would maybe give the game a 9 or above.
Yeah.
Just think about this for a second. If you're on the EA end and you're trying to manipulate review scores because you want high review scores, what are you going to do?
Will a $239.99 trailer haul all your lawn stuff the same as a $300?
You're going to research press and content creators and what they usually give to games score-wise to give you a general idea of how they're going to review your game.
Yeah.
For us, absolutely. We never give games 10s. 9s are extremely rare. Most games we give reviews to fall somewhere in the 7 or 8 range, while other places, you know who they are, always give 9s and 10s, and frankly, it's hard to take them seriously. And
yeah, there's all these like throwaway fucking IGN Spain and other IGN. Yeah, I mean, people just want, even the good and the bad of a product, right? But again, if you're trying to manipulate, if you're trying to micromanage and be like, okay, we're only going to give games to these bunch of groups, like in people who don't play games, people who will do everything in their power to just get early access, get, wined and dined instead of, the YouTubers. Again, nowadays many people just go to YouTubers for their information, right? And it's only going to grow. This is why this is why they're striking YouTube channels down. They're not they're striking the videos down from YouTubers that are critical of the game. Like they know that, the bumfuck YouTuber on their couch in their fucking basement will give you, a better and a little bit more objective. I mean, everyone's opinionated, right? Everyone has their opinions, but people want a level of objectivity. Like, even I didn't completely bash Failguard in the IGN review. The one good thing is, yeah, the environment looked good. Like, there's obviously talent somewhere. It's just not in the storytelling, not in the dialogue, not in the art. Again, they probably pushed the good artists out, right? Or told them, no, you're not supposed to make characters like this, right? They're trying to mass produce art, trying to make it as cheap as possible and wrap it behind ideology and throw it in your fucking face, right? So, and that's what people are looking for. Like, people just want to be like, okay, is the $60 I'm using worth buying this product? And apparently, BioWare just doesn't care, right? EA doesn't care. They're like, no, we're going to manipulate people into buying our product that we know isn't good. Like, they know their game isn't good, right? They know it's not the best game. They know they added things that they know people aren't interested in, and aspects of gaming that no one cares about. Maybe the few ideological people on Twitter that won't play the fucking game care about, but the majority of gamers don't, right? You know how it is very difficult to make a semi-decent female character because they actively take away aspects of editing to keep you from doing. Like, they hate the fact that you have choice, so they want to give you some choice but not others. Like, isn't there a titty slider on the customization for the character? And why does Max ass slider make you still look like Hank Hill ass? Fucking negative concave ass. Like, why is this? Well, again, because there are design aspects they don't want people to put in. And you can say, oh, well, mods are going to do this. Like, who's going to buy the game specifically to mod it in things that should have been in the game to begin with, but is not because they take these out because the consultants demand it, right? Who's going to fucking do that?
And this is why I made this video. Because you guys told us in no uncertain terms that you're waiting for reviews, and you're about to get a bunch of reviews that have been curated by the publisher for their likelihood of being extremely positive in an attempt to manipulate your view of Dragon Age the Veilguard. They want you to think there is a universal consensus that the game is amazing, thereby convincing you that you should try it, but also influencing future review scores, as it's difficult to be the outlier. If you've ever done a review for a game or for something, you'll realize that if you're the only one giving a high review score when everyone else is giving it a low review score, it's difficult. Or if you're the only one giving it a low review score and everyone else is giving it a high review score, it's a very difficult position to be in. So if you see a bunch of positive review scores come out today, think about all the people that are going to be playing afterward and how much pressure they're going to feel to give the game a slightly better score than they would have given it, just to avoid maybe some undue pressure. And sometimes that doesn't even happen consciously, it's just done subconsciously. And I want to be very clear here that I don't think that the press and creators publishing their videos early are going to be lying. However, these reviewers have been screened to maximize the chances that you're seeing positive reviews. There will probably be some exceptions, of course. I don't think everyone's going to give the game a positive review. But EA is banking that those are few and far between in an attempt to keep the aggregate score of the game high. This has only happened one other time that I'm aware of in the some 10 odd years I've been doing this, and that is with Cyberpunk 2077, which followed a similar pattern where we were constantly reassured we were getting a code for years but never got one, and suddenly reviews were out and everyone was praising the game, giving it 9s and 10s, except one journalist who dared to give it an 8 and was ripped to shreds for it. But then the fans got their hands on the game.
Yeah, and again, I think he was talking about Angry Joe, like you even seen Angry Joe's video of it being a buggy mess, right? But in the case of Cyberpunk, there was so much backlash that even fucking PlayStation themselves was like, okay, we'll allow y'all to get refunds if you want. Fucking PlayStation, right? And eventually they fixed the game, and eventually people liked the game, and they came out with the DLC, right? But again, in this case, it's 100% being manipulated, right? And again, this isn't something that needs to happen. Like, if you believe your product can stand on its own 2 feet, you wouldn't need to do these things, right? But this is where the problem comes in, right? These companies, they don't have faith in their ability to create, so they use popular IPs, but they don't have faith in the popular IPs, so they use, most companies, they use, the live service tactic that most companies that popular games use, like Fortnite and Warframe, but they don't even really have faith in that, so they have to manipulate, right? And to this game's credit, I don't think it has any of that bullshit in it, right? Like, does it have microtransactions? I don't know. I haven't bought it. I know for a fact it probably won't have, a season pass model, because that's not the type of game it is. But even then, like, there's all these layers upon layers of proof that the consumer faith in the AAA gaming companies and their products and IPs have just been eroded away, so they have to result in these tactics that aren't, and they're not illegal, right? It's just when people see, like, people know it when they see it, and when they see it, they're like, man, what the fuck, bro?
And well, you know the rest. It wasn't what was promised, and we were forced to make one of the most disappointed videos I've ever made in my gaming career. However, in the case of CD Projekt Red, they own their shit, and the game is in a much better place now, though they lost trust by what happened with that game.
Yeah.
And in CD Projekt...
And I feel like they're going to lose more trust, because now the EU's forcing companies to release their ESG scores, and you hear CD Projekt Red praising ESG and the initiative. So, yeah, I'd say their next game will be woke. Will it sell? Probably, because again, it's piggybacking off previous entries, and Cyberpunk, to its credit, was good, and most other games before it were also good from CD Projekt Red. But again, now you have the leeches coming in. You have these initiatives coming in that don't benefit the consumer, right? And this is what you need to understand, right? The consumer is not benefiting from this. They don't benefit from ESG. They don't benefit from DEI, right? If anything, it either remains the same or it falls, because with DEI and ESG, you have the consultancy groups, and you have active changes being made that the consumer clearly doesn't want and doesn't like in art, in fiction, in gaming, and it's being done for ideological reasons that the consumer, again, don't care about, but because, the devs, or because the HR ladies, and again, people who are hired into companies with ideologies want to impose these things. It's just something you have to fucking deal with, right? And you see that because of that, these companies are feeling the effect. Like, this is why companies are trying to shove away DEI, but what they're really doing is they're doing it under the table. They're not saying they're doing it, but they're doing it.
In Red's case, they had already garnered quite a positive reputation, so they survived the backlash. However, Neither BioWare or EA have shining reputations in the gaming industry, and many people think this is BioWare's last chance to prove they still have it. This is the worst possible start to demonstrating whether or not that is true. So what does this mean for Fex for Life? Honestly, nothing has changed. I'm going to buy the game, I'm going to make our review, and I'm going to like the game or not based on the merit of the game, same as we've always done. I'm not going to let EA's bullshit influence our review or its score. We decided to make this video after some deliberation for you, the viewer, because we couldn't in good conscience let this pass without saying something and let you be duped into thinking this title is one way when it in fact may be completely different. There are a lot of moving parts behind the scenes in the gaming industry that you will likely never know about, such as executives for publishers getting bonuses based on review scores, with higher score being bigger bonuses. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we knew this. Like, this was the thing. And, like, well, Fallout New Vegas, when they didn't get a high score, their devs didn't get a bonus. And that really just proved the effect of gaming journalistic media at the time. But yeah, people know that you need the high scores to get higher incentives. Like, and that makes the scoring system, because the company gets bonuses, the devs get the bonuses, and the journalists, the game journalists, they get the early access product, right? And again, it seems like conspiracy theory, but again, conspiracy is not required when interests align. Like, their interest on both parts to keep peddling their shit. But even if it's at the detriment of the consumer, and then this is the problem, right? The consumer is suffering, right? Getting a worse product because of this, because they're getting lied to.
Maybe you didn't know that. The tactic that EA has taken with Dragon Age the Veilguard may prove to be successful, but should be entirely unnecessary if the game is in fact good. But it's not good for you, the consumer, and because they did this, you should not purchase the game based on initial reviews, but instead wait for players to get their hands on the game and tell you how things actually are, so that there is a true consensus, not one that is manufactured by a large corporation who clearly doesn't care about its community or community members, but in fact only cares about the bottom line. And believe me when I say that I would much rather be publishing a Dragon Age the Veilguard review today rather than this video. This is not a video that I really wanted to make, but I thought it was very important to get this information out to you. And again, no disrespect to any content creators or press out there that are putting out their reviews today. This video is not aimed at attacking them in any way. It's simply aimed at informing you about what is going on with Dragon Age the Veilguard and why you might want to take these things into account when you're watching reviews today and tomorrow.
Yeah, see, the consumer understands that, right? It's just, we shouldn't be in this situation. Now, I'm actually not using it. This is a situation we shouldn't be in, but because they know they do not have faith in the product, they do not have faith that the consumer will want, and it is literally their final hurrah. It's something they have to do. Like, they're in freak out mode. Like, they're shitting the bed because, you know, other companies that had these things in are losing and failing and losing money, and their investors are pulling out. So they have to make the statements that we're not using DEI, we're not pushing an agenda, even though we know it's what they're doing, right? The situation reminds me of Game of Thrones line from Tyrion. When you tear out a man's tongue, you are not proving him a liar. You're only telling the world that you fear what he might say. Thanks for letting us know about how they treat you. And I think that alone is enough for me not to buy the game. Yeah, people will just, like, even there are a specific type of people that if they know this is happening, they're just not going to buy the product, right? I'm not buying the product for another reason, but, you know, with this, I'm definitely not buying a product. I'm happy. I identify as non-binary. You know, non-binary. I will not buy this game. You should not purchase the game based on initial reviews, but instead wait for players to get around the game. Applies to pretty much every game in today's age. Yeah. Yeah, because again, you cannot trust the games journalists that, again, are call themselves as just being some fucking guys, but put themselves in moral positions, right? 22,000 still playing. Like, that's bad. Those are bad numbers. The fact that they stop replying to you or misled you about game review code is actually an issue. In my opinion, transparency is very important in these situations. Yeah, and again, like, games are expensive and people have such little time. Like, they want to know if the money they're spending is worth it. But EA doesn't think that. They're like, no, we're going to try to manipulate people into buying it. They're trying to manipulate viewers. Is the water wet? Yeah. I mean, it is a no shit, but it shouldn't be like this. Right? It shouldn't be this way. People just like Ubisoft now, but EA is reminding us of why they've always been worse. Yeah, I don't think anyone really liked EA. Like, they bought up a lot of studios in the early 2010s and made good products and published good games, but no one really likes EA, the company. Just watched Skill Up's review, and his brutal one line will stay with me. The dialogue is written like HR next to the character and watching closely. Yeah, I mean, you have people, like, the dialogue just seems like you're talking to customer service. It doesn't seem genuine. It doesn't seem even how real people talk in reality. Guess Gillip and Maddie won't be getting review copies for Mass Effect in the future. If there's even a Mass Effect that's coming out in the future, but yeah. Look, if you want a full review of this game, go watch Skillup. He has 44-minute vid and doesn't hold anything back, the good or the bad. And trust me, this game is looking pretty rough. Yeah, I wanted to do but 44 minutes. That's on just talking about it again. That's a lot. It's amazing to me the corporate executives still think they can manipulate the flow of information on the internet like this. The sheer arrogance is astounding. Well, I mean, it does work. Like, they can cry to mommy YouTube and get the shit struck down. So this is clearly working, right? It's clearly a tactic that's being done. And this is just desperation, right? Again, most products can stand on their own 2 feet, right? At least if it's good, but they know it can't. So it's like, yeah. The irony of EA and BioWare's strategy here is that by trying to cherry pick reviewers, they now have a pre-release period damnation by the biggest RPG channel talking about their view cherry picking. Yeah, I do remember you watching their content back in the day, right? I forgot where I was. But, I mean, yeah, I'll keep my finger on the pulse of Dragon Age Failguard because I am very interested. That's all I really gotta say about this. Peace.